Cardiac Arrhythmias and Obesity Research Lab. I'm Kedar Aras, Assistant Professor in the Department of Physiology and Biophysics and an adjunct faculty in the Department of Biomedical Engineering at University at Buffalo. For this episode, I wanted to share my perspective on what goes into giving a good chalk talk. Now, before I get into what makes for a good chalk talk, let's clear up a couple of misconceptions. It is presumed that a chalk talk is a regurgitation of a job talk, except in a confined setting where you go into much more in depth on your projects and get asked questions by the audience. That is not true. Another misconception is that it's more of a passive process where you are in a confined setting and with a limited number of audience members, and they just pepper you with questions and you answer them as best as you can and use a whiteboard to help explain some concepts. Neither of those conceptions are accurate. What a chalk talk is a facilitated discussion on a topic of your choice. In this case, you are the facilitator and the topic is something that you choose. But typically it entails what you plan to work on in terms of projects over the next 2-3 years and how will that translate into grant submission. And the session typically can last anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and sometimes even 2 hours, depending upon how much feedback you're getting from the audience and how engaged they are. So what makes for a good chalk talk? Like I mentioned earlier, it's a facilitated discussion on a topic of your choice that covers your planned projects for the next 2 to 3 years, and that could translate into a grant submission. So can you think of something, an artifact, if you will, that could provide you the content for a chalk talk? If you answered a grant proposal, perhaps an R21 or an R01 with 2 or 3 specific games, bingo. That is what effectively is a content for a chalk talk. So a chalk talk effectively is what you'll be doing in terms of explaining your R01 proposal or R21 proposal. You'll walk them through your specific games because that would be what you'll be doing in your first 2-3 years in your lab. You'll be identifying, collecting preliminary data for the projects you have planned for your R01 submission. So this is an opportunity for you to walk them through what your specific aims are, aim 1, aim 2, aim 3, depending upon how many aims you plan to add to your R01 or R21 proposal, what your hypothesis is, what your planned experiments are, what your expected outcomes are, what are the pitfalls, how you could address them, and then get feedback from the audience. And this effectively is what ends up being a facilitated discussion where you as a facilitator walk them through your R01 proposal or your R21 proposal, one aim at a time. What's your aim? What's your hypothesis? What's your approach? What's your expected outcomes? And then you wait for feedback, answer any questions they may have that can help you address some of the concerns they may have about your project, and go repeat, rinse and repeat, aim 1, aim 2, aim 3 if you have the third aim. And that effectively is it. So if you have a ready-made or a R01 proposal or an R21 proposal ready to go, your chalk talk's going to be a breeze. If you don't have it, then it becomes a little bit of challenging because now you're trying to convince them on kind of projects that you are planning on doing, and then how that's going to translate into an R01 proposal or an R21 proposal. So if you are in the mode of applying for faculty positions, I would suggest that think about having an R01 proposal or at least a specific aims page ready for a proposal, grant proposal ready to go, because that can then be your basis for your chalk talk. Now, the logistics and approach of giving a good chalk talk requires a little more elements, but we'll talk about that in the next episode. So to recap, a chalk talk is a facilitated discussion on a topic of your choice. In this case, it's essentially your grant proposal and how you walk them through all the specific aims and get feedback from the audience to address any questions or concerns they may have about your proposal. And if you are able to do that effectively, that makes for a great chalk talk. Okay. In the next episode, we'll go through how I approached my chalk talk and the checklist I had in hand before giving a chalk talk. Hope to see you then.